I am a marathoner. Good morning, everybody. I'm back. It's Elizabeth from Running Stitch, and I am here for a very, very overdue update. As most of you who follow me probably know, I have been training, well, had been training for a marathon, and I was finding it really hard to kind of balance this and training, um, because I was so focused on running and doing well that that's just where my attention was. And so videoing just kind of fell by the wayside. But the cool thing is I can pick it up whenever I want to and go from there. So I'm officially a marathoner. I finished. A lot of room for improvement. I did not hit the time goal that I wanted, but that's the way it goes. So conditions were not the best. The temperatures were perfect. It was 50. I want to say about 50 degrees when we started. And then, by noon, it was in the 60s. So it had warmed up quite a bit. 55 is the optimal temperature for most runners. So we had a pretty good window. But the crummy thing is it was so windy. So yeah, so it's super windy, which is tough because you have that resistance, pushing in against you, while you're trying to hit a certain speed. And so it just is an added, a little added difficulty there. But I had a great time, a great experience. I was hitting my paces pretty consistently. I think there were a few miles in the beginning where I maybe was a little too fast. But it's hard because, you're feeling so good. You're coming off of like 16, sometimes 18, sometimes 20 weeks of training. And those last 2 weeks of training are called the taper week, and where you drastically decrease your mileage, and rest is really the focus. And so, after 2 weeks of that, you're feeling really good. Like you're almost feeling like an animal, like a caged animal, like ready to just bust out because you've been putting forth so much energy for so long, and then to have to rein it back, it's really hard. And so the beginning of the race, any race really, like a half marathon or anything that's a considerable distance that you have to kind of taper for, like it's really tough to kind of hold yourself back in the beginning. And so there were a couple miles in the beginning of the race where I may have been a little too fast, for what I should have been doing, but I was feeling so good. And so I was going along, and I had a buddy that I was running it with, and we got to about mile 15, about halfway between mile 15 and mile 16, and my head got the best of me. My head got the best of me, and from that point on, like the quality portion of my race was over. It was done. And that's a huge part of where I learned from. You have to stay so positive because your legs are screaming at you, and your brain is saying, "Stop! What are you doing to our body? This is not normal." But in reality, your head is always going to give up before your body does. Your body can go so much farther than your brain thinks it can. And you just have to get out of your head, and staying positive is the key to that. And that's a huge lesson that I had to learn. And I also figured out that I needed to tweak my my fueling strategy. I had taken some um, little, they're like little gel packs, and they're chock full of carbs, because your body is burning so many carbs uh, in an activity like this. And so, you know, every 45 minutes I would take like a little gel pack, um, and they weren't sitting well. Like, I had used them all in training and they were fine. And I don't know if it was the nerves or all the excitement. Something wasn't sitting well. My stomach was upset. And so, I lost track of my fueling strategy, and my electrolytes took a huge dive, and miles 16 through the end were a huge struggle. Um, but my family was there. My husband ran the half marathon, and so my family was at the finish to cheer him on, and see him finish. And then they collected him after he had cooled down and taken care of himself, and they collected him, and then they drove up to where the mile 18 mark was on the course. And I saw them at mile 18, and I stopped just long enough to give big bear hugs and just enjoy that moment, because I needed it. I needed it to say finish. Just finish. Like, it's your first one. It's your first one of many that you're going to plan to do. And so just finish. And so it was a huge boost, and it helped me push through. And then I got to mile 26. And I saw my husband again. My family had driven back down to the finish line. I saw my husband again. And I just remember he came out onto the course with me, and because he was trying to block the wind, because at that point in the late afternoon, about lunchtime, like, the wind had picked up, and the race was in downtown Dallas. And so the airflow coming around those buildings just made it, it funnels it down, and it just made huge wind gusts. And so he kind of got out there, and he was trying to block the wind for me. And I just remember saying to him, they won't go. My legs won't go. They won't go. They won't go. They won't go. And he's like, you got to make them, baby. You're almost there. You got to make them go. You got to just find it in you. You can see the finish line. It's right there. Just go, go, go. And somehow I found just that last push I needed to just make it. And I made it. And I have a nice slideshow for you at the end of my experience, but oh my gosh, y'all, running a marathon is no joke. It is no freaking joke. Yeah, and I'm so glad that I did it, because it's incredibly rewarding. And just, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So yeah, that was my experience. I was really bummed that I didn't make the time that I wanted. But again, there's so many more in my future, so much room for improvement. I know I'm a great runner. Sometimes you just don't have a good day. It could be the weather conditions. It could be, sometimes the way your body's feeling. There's so much that's out of your control. That's the crazy thing about it. There's so much that's out of your control, and you just have to roll with it. So I'm very proud of myself for what I accomplished. The few days afterwards, I did suffer some post-marathon blues. I kind of walked around a funk and just was really bummed, and because I'd worked up to this and worked up to this, and all of a sudden it was over. And so I kind of had to get past that, and I found another race to sign up for. But anyway, I kind of had to get past that and recover. I didn't run for an entire week afterwards, almost a week and a half actually. And then got back out there slowly and worked back up. If those of you who follow me on Instagram, you saw this morning I did a 10-mile run. That was my second double-digit run since December 11th. So it takes a lot of time, but yeah, we're getting back into it. And I am determined to stay with videoing and training moving forward. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And so I was okay letting the videoing drop off because I really wanted to throw everything I had into what I didn't know. You know, I'd never done a marathon before. And so that's where my focus was, because I'm the type of person who, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it well, which is probably why I get so bummed out when I don't succeed. But I wanted to do it well. And so that's where my attention was. So sorry that it's been so long, but that's kind of what's been going on. I had been doing some stitching throughout the last few months. I actually did more knitting. I knitted a shawl for each of my kiddos' teachers. So it was 3 shawls. So September, October, and November. I did 1 shawl a month. So I spent most of my time doing that, but I did get a little bit of stitching done. Not as much as before, but I do have some stuff to show you. And I actually started something new just a few days ago. I'll consider it my new start for 2017. Okay, so I have a little slideshow for you about the marathon experience at the end, but now let's get into the stitching. So when I had the energy and time to actually cross stitch, I worked on one of my Heaven and Earth designs, and I worked on my Mirabilia, Christmas in London. And it's funny because I was rewatching a couple of my other videos this past week, and I remember saying that I wanted to get that Mirabilia, that Christmas in London one, done before the school year started. Yeah. But it hasn't happened, of course. But I have done a lot on it, and I really don't have too much more stitching to go before I get to start the beading, and that's what's really keeping me motivated on this, is all of the beading, because you know, I've beaded things before, but this one has these crystals on it that just have me fascinated, and so that's really what's keeping me going on this one and pushing me to get all the stitching done. So side note, there's a lot of life going on behind me in the background. This room over in here, through that little archway, the front bedroom, my husband is in there. He set it up for like his little triathlon cave, so he's got like his bike in there and a trainer, and so he's doing that. And then upstairs in the playroom are my 3 kids doing who knows what, because I'm hearing a lot of thuds. So if you hear anything in the background, I apologize. Okay, so back to Mirabilia. Here's where I am on this one. So yeah, I basically have the entire top page done. Let's see if I can get in there. I'm trying to look through the fabric because I can see the screen through the fabric. Okay, so I've got the whole top page done except for the beading. So there's that, and then I've worked down next to Audrey. That's what she's named in the pattern. So Audrey's standing there looking very posh. I worked down there, and I've got that urn done, and then there's those little tassels or bell pulls there, and then those are going to be like, there's going to be strips of beads that come all through here. So I'm working on that part, and then working down the curtain, and the curtain is going to end about in here. So just a little bit left to go, and then I get to jump over to this side and work on the tree stand. Like, the tree sits in a real fancy vase, so that's there, and then it all sits on a table, so there's gonna be a table that comes in here, and then the curtain. I'm trying to think of what else is on there. I think it's just some beading coming out from her dress. Yeah, so this one is looking so lovely, and I'm so excited about it. I cannot wait to start on all those beads. Yeah, it's going to be really fun. So yeah, Christmas in London is really coming along. Really coming along. I've kind of put this one aside the past few days because I started something new, which we'll get to in just a minute, but making some good progress on it. Okay, so I was kind of rotating between that and my Heaven and Earth design, and I was working on Some Enchanted Evening by Randall Spangler. And I got actually surprisingly quite a bit done on this one too. So let me fold this here. Okay. So here's where I'm at. So the last time you saw it, I'm going to go ahead and put a picture of it here the last time that you saw it. So you can see I've almost got this next, let's see, I finished the page. Here's the page line. So I finished the page and then started in on the rest of the moon, and this is the top of the last of that night sky, and there's a little bit of sky that comes in down here, and then here's where the start is of the trees on the other side of the painting. Excuse me. And the blue took forever. Like, it's a lot of blue, and I don't know, those of you who do the heads that have, or the head, whatever, that do the heads with like so much background that's just mostly one or two colors, like, kudos to y'all, because this has been driving me crazy. Like, I just want to get it done, and I want to get into the more interesting parts. And then over here, there's a big fairy, like flying up in the treetops. There's a big fairy, and so I can't wait to get to her. So I'm just trying to make it through all this blue, but it's coming along really well. I'm really excited about it. This is on 25 count Lugana 2/1. So it's a little bulky, but I really haven't had too many issues getting my needle through. I think I'm using, it's not a 28. I think I'm actually using a 26, because all my 28s that I've tried using on this project, they broke. They just snapped because it's so stiff. And so I went to a 26 just to get a little bit more leverage on the needle. So yeah. So there's that. I want to get back to this one, but then, you know, I get on Facebook and I look at the Heaven and Earth page on Facebook, and I see what everyone's doing, and I'm like, I want to work on this one, but then I want to work on A Stitch in Time too, and that's sitting there next to my chair, like, hello, hello. It's a miracle that any of us get any of these done the way we rotate through stuff. Okay, so my new start is the Under the Sea Stitch Along from Lakeside Needlecrafts, designed by Doreen Jones. And, whoa, sorry, scroll frame's falling. I really wanted to have January done before I filmed, but it just didn't happen. But I do have some good progress. And there's a couple of questions that I kind of have, that I've kind of asked myself as I've been working on this. But first, I'll show you what I have. So here's an octopus, a little bug-eyed octopus. He's super cute. I wish the lighting was better on this too. The lighting is not very good. It's really overcast today, and it's very drizzly. It's supposed to rain all weekend, and so I'm working off of, like, right in front of me, I have the big dining room window, which is the source of all the natural light for this room. and it's wonderful, but because it's so overcast, I had to turn the chandelier light on, and so the fluorescent is what's throwing this off. So this is the best I'm going to be able to do today. But so there's a little octopus, and then he's got like a little fish that sits in here, and then there's like seaweed vines kind of things that come around him. So he's super cute. But the question that I had on this one is, because I've watched people stitch on the fantasy stitch along, and I guess that one started in the middle of the year is what I'm gathering. But the border chart like came out in the very beginning. But with this one, when they sent out January's block, there was no border chart. Like, it was just the octopus. And so I had to measure out, you know, the full design size and get it situated on where where on the fabric it was going to go, and like hope and pray that it's not too thick of a border, because I've started kind of up here, like here's the corner. So I don't know, it's kind of out of my comfort zone. Like I'm normally like a middle of the design starter, and I work my way out from there. And so to have to kind of play a little guessing game with this, I don't know. It's been interesting the way they've organized it, but the design itself is super adorable, and I'm excited that I kind of caved and splurged on this one, because I've enjoyed every stitch of it. Okay, so yeah, that's really all I've got. Super quick update. There's a lot of tags floating around that I like, that I want to do. Like, I want to do the behind the scenes tag, and what was that other one? I just totally blanked. There's another one that I really liked that I want to do, but I'm not organized for it today. I'm kind of just trying to squeeze this in today, because I'm about to go take a nap. Honestly, I'm about to go take a nap. So yeah, I want to do a couple tags. So next video should be hopefully a little bit longer. I'm going to try and have a bunch more progress to show you. Hopefully, at least in the next month. Surely in the next month I'll have all the stitching done on Christmas in London, since I've really been focused on that. But we'll see. Things happen. Anyway, so thanks for hanging out with me for about 20-30 minutes. I've been trying to keep up with y'all's videos. There are so many Flosstubers that it's impossible to watch everybody. So I'm really trying. I feel bad that I can't get to everybody, but I'm really trying, and y'all are keeping me motivated and going, and just really happy that, you know, I've kind of found a place in the community, and just really happy that, you know, people want to hear what I have to say. So thank you to all my subscribers and likes, and thank you for your comments. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot. I did have one question. Candace, I don't have my notes with me. Candace, I forget your last name. Candace asked about my scroll frame, because I think she, there's a project she's working on that the fabric is too wide for the frame, and so she asked if folding it over, like I guess folding it over at the end, would affect the tension. And I had a couple hi Luke. Hi. Sorry, I told you life is going on behind me.
Everyone will want me play.
Okay, you have plenty of things up there that you can play with, okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I thought about doing that too, before I had gotten my really large set of bars. like if I could like fold the fabric over on each side to fit inside the frame. And I think, you know, if your fabric, like if you're working on a linen, I think you could probably get away with maybe doing that on one side if you tightened the others, if you tighten the other side just a little bit more than the side you folded on. But if you had to do it on both sides, I don't know if you could get the tension tight enough for the middle to be taut like it's supposed to. I have not tried it. I just went ahead and got a set of longer bars because at the time I had the money to do that. So I played it safe and just went that route. But you know, if you had to fold the fabric and you found a way to make it work, then oh my gosh, please share with the rest of us, because I know for a lot of people that could be a viable option to getting larger pieces of fabric into the tools that they have to work with. So Candace, I guess to answer your question, I have not tried that. And unfortunately I have bars long enough that I don't have to try it, but I think I saw a picture of what you were working on and you had part of it folded over and it looked like you had made it work. So good job. And yeah, so rock on, keep going. Yeah, so that was my question, my question that I got. I think it was on my last video. So thank you, Candace, for asking that. I'm sorry if my answer was a little rambly and probably not very clear, but anyway. So I feel like this video is really choppy because I've tried to say goodbye and then I remembered a question and then my kid came downstairs and so now I'm going to try and say goodbye again. So again, thank you to everyone who has subscribed and liked and commented. And yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I am running.stitch18. I will put it right down here for you. And I'm also part of Stitch Mania and Cross Stitch and Discuss and the new official Heaven and Earth Designs Facebook group and the Lakeside Needlecraft group. Yeah, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the person with the profile picture running like, yeah. So that's me. Yeah, so anyway, sit back and enjoy the pictures that I have to share with you, and I will see you guys next time.